Hi guys, I'm Zoe Cross,
I'm Ted Hirsch.
and this is our bonus mini episode of Into the Oasis. Ted, I know you're in graduate school talking about masters. What are you getting your master's in?
Oh, I'm getting my master's in geospatial intelligence, which is it's a very interesting field, map making, and my favorite part, image analysis, which it kind of looks like the looks like the stuff you see on TV. Kind of doesn't sometimes. Very
Elaborate.
very slow. Oh, you see like the people they got the pictures of like the area. They're like zoom in there. There's the car. We got the license. No, it's not that. The stuff I've seen is not that good. Supposedly we have really good ones like that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. The big issue with that area, because if you go into terrorism research, military, any of that stuff, you've got all these different fields of intelligence, like what human intelligence,
right,
signal, all that. Geospatial is its own thing. Their big issue, our big issue is time. So like you can have a picture of somebody next to a car with a box, and you don't know if the person's loading the car
right,
or taking stuff out. So it's fun, it's cool stuff. What about you, Zoe? How's your studies doing? What are you making progress on?
I'm currently studying criminal justice and psychology, and I'm not taking any global terrorism classes this semester really besides the like 1 credit, requirement. But besides that, I am doing the psychology of terrorism, which is always very interesting, the intersectionality between why people kind of commit the acts that they do and what the motivation behind that is, whether it be ideology or some kind of other intrinsic motivation that people have. So very interesting topics.
I've been getting down that rabbit hole on YouTube of the police detectives doing the interviews and all that kind of stuff, and the people talking about those. Is that anything in that realm where they're doing like
right,
looking at how people are like sitting there, like,
right,
talking all that kind of stuff? Is it that kind of stuff, or what is it?
Kind of something similar to that. I guess it's just kind of understanding where people come from and then trying to figure out the root causes. So then in counterterrorism, CT, coin counterinsurgency and stuff like that, we're able to get to the root cause of the issue and be able to address it in a way that we're preventing the buyers rather than putting them out.
Very interesting project. It's been a year almost. We gotta I gotta look. It might actually have been, I think it's in a week.
Yeah, it's pretty much like almost exactly a year because when our stuff was due this time last year.
Yeah, when we did the website. So
yeah. I don't know. Exciting stuff. I feel like Infoasis is headed in a good direction. Generally good things. Not too much of note. What are your thoughts on Infoasis?
I'm happy with where it's gone, what we've managed to do. Scope has always been something I've been very interested in and seeing where we can go with this. Although it's going to be really interesting with everything going on. Hiring freezes. I think Maryland.
Funding.
I saw something passed recently where Maryland was like setting the curriculum baseline for schools. So I'm gonna double check on that before I say any more. But one of the things we were talking about pretty heavily is trying to get this permitted, or like Infoasis itself permitted as something like students can use as a resource, and it'll be interesting with that realm because I know especially like the computer studies classes get very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you can use, although nitro type, I think we could do better than nitro. No, I take that back. Cool math though.
I think we could be better.
But we're a little bit more education.
I agree. I think the next step would be ideally kind of like the next like larger advancement step would be getting Infoasis into some kind of school's curriculum, and getting students to be able to use it and interact with the material and stuff, because we have the college kids that do interact with our material on a voluntary basis, on a kind of you're interested so you go check it out, or it's our friends or teachers or other just people in the field of extremism prevention and just prevention in general. But I think that it would be interesting to be able to get it into schools and have them be able to build off of what we have and have actual like test subjects kind of for our material that aren't us or other college kids but other age groups as well, and kind of start that whole prevention cycle by implementing media literacy education in schools, and especially since Infoasis is free, like that ideally would be a resource that teachers could incorporate into the curriculum. So I agree.
Not even that, just exposure itself. That's that, and I love cool math games. That's what they kind of do. They have like all their games on there and stuff, and you can go and click around and learn stuff. Starfall was the big one that came to my mind. Remember that from like elementary school. But like, yeah, that was like, oh, you're done your assignments on the computer or whatever.
Right.
Here's a bunch of sites that you're allowed to go to.
Right.
If this is beyond a filter, people can just go and, hey, look, here's a Google game that like teaches me, how to stay safe on the internet.
Right. Exactly.
So it'd be even cool just to get exposure, so talking to people.
Yeah.
Be fun.
So kind of pivoting a little bit, what topics in AI, media literacy have you been learning about? Like, what are you up to?
I have been all over the place because especially like GeoInt has not, I don't want to say a relationship with AI, but they've been using it to an extent for years. Much more the machine learning kind,
right?
Where like it's not humanly possible to go and take a whole disaster zone or like area you're trying to look at and say this house is destroyed, this house is destroyed, this house is destroyed,
right?
Or like this is a road, all that kind of stuff. So what you do is you can get these machine learning things. They've been trying to teach us. My brain's losing it sometimes over it, but you can go and say, hey, this is a road, or give them like example areas, and then give them an area of study, and they'll go and be like, here you go, here's where all the houses are, here's how they look. They were using this especially, we were talking about with the big Hawaii fires. I can't remember the island at the moment, but one of the things they were doing to track like population, all that kind of stuff, see how many people like, made it out and look at damage. They trained their algorithm to count burnt cars.
Oh wow!
So it was actually going in like that's a car, that's a car, that's a car, in all this smoke and fire and stuff, which was that's cool stuff. There's some really cool stuff. Otherwise, most of my stuff has been newsletter stuff. So I hate to say it, I'll admit it. I've been going on to Google and just typing in AI and looking for like the really cool articles that I know we can talk about. And I mean that's something everyone should just do.
Yeah.
When you got free time, go look at what people are doing. Especially there's some weird stuff going on in the market. That's your style of business. A lot of people playing with AI in weird ways, especially accessibility. Have you seen all the accessibility stuff?
Yeah, I mean I've seen a little bit of it, but elaborate on what you've seen.
Well, the one I think I wrote about it this past week. It's essentially they're giving it like voice access. It's good at voice recognition, which I mean Siri was,
right.
But a lot of them now are given camera access, so they're able to like you're able to kind of take a picture or something or show a video, like live video footage of an object item or something and ask about it, and the AI is like has the opportunity to talk about it. I'm kind of sketched out about it. I want to see it in action, but at the same time, I've talked about it too in other things. Like the way they train the AI is through interaction. So anything you give, for the most part, I think there's some avenues to kind of restrict that, but most of the stuff that you give to the AI is used to train it to do better answers. That's why they get like those surveys sometimes asking about it.
Right.
But especially like the that's been the big problem that I keep seeing too. People keep going like, hey, asking their AI chatbots all this stuff, and then somehow giving them credit card information or like home information to these, and it gets put into the training algorithm.
Right.
So
and then it spits it out at other places.
Oh yeah,
that's
like
so interesting.
Just be careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a few others, but I'm curious to hear what you have in this round.
Actually, you know what, this is ChatGPT related, but this is just a funny but unfortunate situation. My friend recently just got like her identity stolen online, and the person logged into her ChatGPT and put their personal information into her ChatGPT. So when she was like, oh, like, I don't know, I guess she had asked something, and then it came up with that person's name and like their address and stuff, and that's how she caught them and reported them. Isn't that crazy? Also, why would you log into someone else's ChatGPT? Like, what? I don't know what the cause for that was. Maybe he thought that her ChatGPT had personal information. Because, like, it does store personal information. You have to be careful with that. But,
no, but they put their own...
They put their own information into her ChatGPT account.
I wonder if they did that... I don't know. I have to go read their terms of service a bit more. Because maybe it was, like, the guy gave it access on his computer or something like that.
Yeah, it might have been.
Because that... That's funky. That's cool.
Yeah,
And
isn't that
honestly,
crazy though? She was like, "There's no way that the guy that hacked all my stuff was dumb enough to put his personal, like all of his information, his birthday, his name, everything
That should
into the ChatGPT."
should be a news article. Like,
Yeah, I know, it should be a news
solves
article.
crime.
I'm gonna tell her to get it to someone to report that, because I think
Send
that's
CBS or whatever.
no,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, like, does it suck? Yes, but
Or what's the
that's AI for good.
I can't think of the paper. Diamondback.
Oh yeah, the Diamondback. The Diamondback would cover that.
What was I going to talk about? I mean, Glad Info is still going. We got a lot of the original members still. I think that's a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're all contributing through work and all that stuff. Everyone's doing well last I checked, so hey, perfect kind of stuff. Still updating the site. There's a few new tool bits coming, right?
Yeah, there's extremist narratives and how those are being pushed out, and then there's election information, and just kind of everything surrounding that and how to stay informed.
That's a good one.
And then I'm trying to remember what the last one was. I think it's also like extremist narratives and like propaganda online and kind of how those are pushed online and what that whole process is.
I mean, those are all really interesting areas of research that we've done in our undergraduate. Well, I did my undergraduate studies. You're currently studying on occasion.
Exactly.
There's a lot of cool stuff that like start in a lot of these what are they, counterterrorism studies?
Yeah.
Terrorism studies is what it is here at UMD, but I mean, I think George Mason has a program. Syracuse had one. I was
Right.
looking at. A lot of cool things these guys are doing across the country. But yeah, I mean, what else are we doing here? UMD. We're good. We're partnered to start a bit. Having fun.
Tell us about your AI twins that you've been talking about.
Oh boy.
What are your AI twins?
So my professor had brought it up a few times because what he does is very cool for this class is like, hey, I'm bringing in articles that I see talking about the field or like around it, and then like you guys can bring in some
Right.
stuff. And so I've been half paying attention all the time, being like, oh yeah, digital twins. Have you heard of digital twins? So while I was like, before coming to the last recording session we did, I was just kind of glancing at like some stuff online, like, hey, I could ask about this, all that. And I see this article called AI Models of the Brain Can Serve as Digital Twins in Research by Nina Bai. It's on Stanford Medical, I think. Yep, Stanford Medicine. And pretty much what had surprised me was they're taking a rat brain, they think they've mapped it, and they're going to use it to digitally, you can.
That's crazy. Okay, continue.
They want to go and make rat mazes in a digital space and take the rat brain, digitalize,
Wow.
and see if they can. That's slippery slope.
Yeah,
That's
it
a weird
really
one.
is.
I mean, at least
Take a rat brain and do what with it?
Mm-hmm.
Map mazes?
I think they're just using it to do inner workings of the brain easier and more efficient. Study that. They were. That's what it says. It says they were taking rats and stuff, putting them in front of movie clips, and watching the brain activity as it went into like watching movie clips, which is weird. I don't know what you show a rat in a movie, like Ratatouille maybe.
Yeah, maybe Ratatouille.
But I mean, I have to look. There's some really cool stuff that we get to mess around with, or like learn about it here when I was looking at prosthetics, with, like brain-controlled interfaces. They're little sticky things you stick on the outside.
Right.
Or they might do invasive stuff. I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, they're talking about this just for mapping our own brain, and I think that's a weird kind of realm to say. What would somebody do with it in human brain? Would that be AI expansion or something weird like that? I don't know.
So how is the rat brain like AI? Like how is that? I feel like I'm missing the correlation.
I think the rat brain being AI, it's a digital rat.
Oh, it's not a real rat, it's a digital rat.
No, they took like a bunch of rats, they watched their brains highlight in front of these movie things, and then they recreated a rat brain on a computer.
Oh, how interesting.
Wow. I'm kind of scared of it. I love AI, I love machines and all that kind of stuff. That's a weird realm to be playing with.
Huh. I never even considered that could be kind of an idea.
No, I didn't either. And then I saw it and was slightly disturbed.
Well, then maybe they could take that same kind of technology and study like human brains and like what areas of the human brain light up when things happen, and then apply that to, I guess, an AI model or whatever, and see how. I mean, I guess, is it like studying the human brain but without actually the human brain itself? It's an AI human brain?
Yeah, that's the weird part. That's what I'm struggling to kind of grasp at the moment, where it's, I don't even know, would it be an AI at that point? And then you get all this legality stuff, and then especially like the UK and all that kind of stuff, they're pretty cool about it. They have like a ton of restrictions on what you can do with them, and how you implement AI, and how like, especially, I mean, they've been doing it with video games and stuff for years, how like predatory they are on information grabbing, and just all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what the EU does in response to that, or even like the UK. That's another really fascinating realm to go into. I think you did that in the first podcast a lot more, talking about law and all that kind of stuff, and then
the legality issues about like AI and property laws and stuff like that. That's definitely an emerging topic that I think we'll kind of see start coming up more and more as AI is developed, and we have no idea who owns what if AI is just pulling from everywhere.
Oh yeah,
who owns that? Like,
that was the big debate. I think I wrote about in another article, or another newsletter. But like, have you played with any of those filters on Snapchat they got that like mimic or all that kind of stuff? I think the big one was people were ChatGPT just got the image thing. Or,
it did, yeah. ChatGPT just got that.
Everyone's doing the Studio Ghibli. I'm calling it that. I might be mispronouncing it, but they're doing all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's another weird realm to go into. Like, do they own the style? Can you trademark a style like that? Can the AI do that?
I feel like, in my opinion, it's not maybe necessarily the style that's trademarked, but since AI is obviously drawing from like that studio's images, so it can create these images in that style, I feel like technically that should be copyrighted material, I guess. Because if AI is drawing from the pictures that this company is creating in order to create like these mashups of images, it might be in part, the user's idea, but then in part the studio's style. But also then like it goes back to like in-text citations. If you even use part of the information in another source, you have to cite it. Because it's that person's information. It's not your own original idea, like completely original idea. So I feel like that's kind of the same idea there.
Kind of. I see what's really cool about most forms of media, like art especially, and then movies and all that kind of stuff. Their copyright law is they have openings. So there's you can do parody. Parody is a great thing for like television, movies, all that kind of stuff. They're fun. You can still mess around with an IP as long as you're not like, cutting away from it.
Right.
It's weird stuff. We should talk to a lawyer about it. But the one that's always been fascinating to me has been, or not fascinating, but kind of relevant in this case, would be like, people that's taking that art style and translating it over, but people can also draw that art style. So it kind of...
Oh, that's true. I guess
in a weird way, there's weird limitations. Then you'd have to put on artists, which it's a weird realm. It's something for our generation or the people beyond us to try and work on and figure out. So, very weird, very very interesting topic to kind of think about. On the way here. We're kind of at a weird point with like AI development and especially the internet for us, because we're like kind of, we fall in the weird in between line where we were like, the internet was established when we were born and as we were going up through school, so we weren't groundbreaking in that realm. That's more like the millennials or like late millennials. Although there's weird lines, we might fall in that category, kind of. Whatever. However you do that. But now we have the new generation. People, I'm going to say like 10 years younger than us, maybe. Maybe even a little bit more than that. They're all having access to now AI in study environments, or like in like ground education, base level education initiatives, elementary, middle, high, where we never had that opportunity. It's starting to get implemented a lot more in business. There's a guy, I can find that article. Somebody said today, or the other day, like, oh, like, first off, like, if you want to hire more people, you got to prove how an AI can't do it, and we expect you to use AI in the workplace. It's a pretty big company. I think it's Shopify. Sorry, Shopify, not. But, yeah, like, interesting in that realm. And so we haven't had as much exposure to AI. I'm a bit hesitant to use it for research and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a cool thing. And I can go more on a rant about AI later. But, no, it gets weird because you have all these people now who are using AI or how their brains are changing, all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. Have you been around any kind of like younger people that are using AI in their classrooms, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I've seen YouTube on them. But
No, definitely not like in the classrooms necessarily. But my younger sister she's 12, and she knows how to use ChatGPT, and she'll ask it like random math things. I mean, she's just discovered photo math, and my mom was like, "Where's your work for this problem?" And she's like, "No, I did it in my head." It's like a 15-step problem, and my mom's like, "You're not my first child." But yeah, I mean, she knows how to use ChatGPT. She used it to write my dad's like birthday card, and he was like, "This is really good. This is a really good birthday card. How do you know how to spell this? You don't even know how to spell calendar. Like what?" And she was like, "Yeah, I had a friend help me."
Oh.
The friend was ChatGPT. But I think it's interesting because it's kind of like we went through school, like obviously doing our own papers and stuff, but I think especially now in college, something that I'm seeing is a lot of my friends using either like ChatGPT to make an outline for papers or write papers, or they're like, "I can't do this without ChatGPT." And don't get me wrong, I love ChatGPT, like especially if it's explaining something to me that I don't understand. It explains Arabic to me all the time. But I think in terms of like motivation and IQ levels almost, we're losing out on important kind of skill building, because these are like your future doctors, your future lawyers, whatever, your future like everything are using ChatGPT to do their assignments or write their papers on topics that like we're supposed to be building the basis for now. And as ChatGPT becomes more advanced and more readily accessible, it kind of brings the issue of, as it grows, we're relying on it more and more to solve issues and kind of do things for us where it should be things that we're doing and learning ourselves. So I think that that's something that I'm a little bit concerned about. That's something that's been on my mind, is where the line is of you, because I mean, obviously teachers have ChatGPT detectors, but how reliable are those?
I have heard some really cool ways some teachers and professors have been getting around them.
Yeah.
Which is like, I saw one where they were hiding like white text in their question and all that kind of stuff that they were putting up. People were copy pasting that, and it was like,
I saw that too.
Include this name in like a story or something like that, and it was flagging it that way. A lot of my, because when I was doing GIS work, or like the undergraduate GIS study, there was a lot of encouragement for us to kind of like get used to it, which was weird. They were trying to show us like, hey, look, ask it this question, and then compare it to the guy next to you, and look and be like,
and see the discrepancy.
That's weird. Like, or there's a discrepancy, or it's like similar. They're like not wrong. So it was interesting in that realm, and especially because again we're using it for a lot of just, hey, this is a second set of eyes essentially to help us out. I completely forgot where I was going with this.
AI being used too much in schools.
I think there's a way that we have to adapt the schooling in that realm, or maybe just kind of how we ask questions. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was the way they were phrasing questions was like it wanted you to use sources in particular, which I've seen ChatGPT when I've tried to just mess around with it, asking it to read an article. It gets most of it right, and then you can very clearly tell though it hadn't it's what they call it, like phantoms in the machine, you know, like ghosts. It gets possessed for a little bit, which is interesting to see. But like that kind of makes it obvious from what I've seen in those realms. Have you seen anything interesting any professors doing, other than just like the base, like if I find out you do AI, you're failing?
Yeah, no, I mean I've pretty much seen that same kind of thing where like if you use AI, you're gonna get in trouble. But I feel like we haven't also, I mean, the AI detectors are AI.
Yeah, it's
like
really
it's
fun.
AI detecting AI, which is kind of like a mind twist because you're like, wait a second.
It's like the drones fighting drones.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how reliable is it if we know AI is wrong? A lot of levels sometimes. Then how do we know the AI detectors aren't wrong sometimes? I don't know how to answer that.
I got flagged through one of those things. Yeah, last night actually I submitted it. I made a timeline for the project I'm doing, and I left some just like blank spaces. It said like none, one kind of category, and it flagged that as something from another paper. In this, it's like turn it in.
Oh yeah, turn it in.
And so I had it does a percentage score, like 50%. I think I beat like 70% with these things that are very clearly not. So, I mean, in that regard, I hope teachers are at least looking when it's like ridiculously high.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it always flags my name and like all that kind of stuff.
Oh, you're lucky. You're popular in there. Then.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does. I'm in the trended in database.
Yeah, I don't think I am.
No.
I gotta look. When you go in, you think of like your favorite movies, or like TV shows, or like what you've seen, what you grew up watching about AI. What comes to mind first? Like any examples off the top of your head, or like what
no, I mean, I guess I don't really have any examples. Like, I think a lot of people are scared of AI, and I don't really know if I'm scared necessarily of the idea of AI evolving. That's not. I'm nice to the AI, so I know when if the robots take over, they're not getting me. They'll be nice to me.
I say thank you. I apologize.
Yeah.
My one friend sat there with GPT for an hour and a half because he was bored one day and got it to it like half answered, but it was like, yeah, like if the robot apocalypse happens and I'm around, like I won't harm you. You'll be safe. Which was kind of funny.
That is funny. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really like necessarily scared of AI. People are like, oh my gosh, AI. Especially, I think the older generations are more concerned about it than we are. I think things like deepfakes and stuff are scary. Like, I think the ability to be able to mimic other people is scary. But I think that for the most, AI is doing good. But it's also like, let's not fly too close to the sun. Like, let's stop developing it at some point, because again, at some point it becomes our students using it instead of doing their work themselves. Like, is AI being used for more bad than good? Is it being used to like create harmful materials, or just kind of, I think it gets to be a point where it's helpful, because like I need customer service all the time, and I always talk to the AI chatbot, and like usually the AI chatbot's helpful. That's a great use of it. But at the same time, like, I think there needs to be a threshold of, we need to stop having it be able to be accessed by the public at some point. Like, there needs to be a threshold where the public cannot access a certain level of AI, just because I feel like it's probably going to do more harm than good.
I mean, in like systems in general, I think it's how connected they can be, or like how attached, which is really interesting, because a lot of the early ones that they're testing, I love the early bots they were testing on like Facebook and stuff that like people figured out they could corrupt. They were contained to like Twitter and all that kind of the two Chinese ones that were like, we don't like the Communist Party.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny. But yeah, again, like really locked tight.
Right.
Whereas now they're just kind of let loose, which is really interesting. That's a big thing. Training data. Keep this in mind if you're making your own AI or doing anything like that. You have to figure out training data. Training data is the big question everyone's asking now. What should it have access to? What shouldn't?
Right.
But make sure you're not putting it somewhere where it's going to find the wrong people to train off of, or the wrong things. Because the thing that I've stuck with consistently when talking about AI, thinking about AI, all that kind of stuff is, any system is only as smart as its creator or creators.
Right.
So that's where you get into like the weird kind of realms of like, what's it going to do? What are the limitations? Because like I think my perceptions of AI have been all over the place.
Right.
Because as somebody who's more of a nerd, especially, where like I've seen Star Trek was actually early, like Data in there. He's kind of an AI. But he's friendly.
Yeah,
he works with the crew. My big exposure to AI was Halo. So a lot of those, AI is actually like the good guy most of the Halo stuff. They work like really cooperatively with people.
Okay.
They're almost their own things though. So it's like weird perceptions on that. But then again, you have stuff like what is it that came out recently? Been a lot of positive perceptions of them recently. That's what it was. The Avengers movie, the Age of Ultron thing. He's an AI too.
Oh.
Yeah. So like, that's another negative one though.
Right.
Like, but I think of that one too. Like he turned bad because he was exposed to all of humanity and told like you gotta save everyone and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, the only way to save them is kill them all. Which, I mean, kind of scary to think about.
Yeah.
But not entirely unfeasible if you have the wrong person programming it or they're not careful. Right. And that's the big fear of mine. And I think even like, again, I brought up the EU. It's just development cycles. Like being careful. China was, I think it's the US and China we're especially concerned about, or the talk is especially concerned about, because, I mean, big incentive to put out a platform for money.
Right.
But at least the US ones have had some time to like develop. Where like China's been rushing a bunch of these out. God knows what they can think.
Right.
I find it really funny though. Their censoring is consistent. They're at least really consistent with the censoring.
Yeah.
Always ways to get around it. Have you ever gotten around one of those AI like safeguard walls they put up?
No, I don't know. I really haven't played with them all that much to like get around it.
We took my friends and I took full advantage of it early on, where it was like you can be creative. This is what's really great about people. People are clever, really smart. Always ways to get around it. I mean, AI is always thinking very logically.
Right.
So when you tell an AI that like hey, pretend you're Eric Cartman and now say this,
right,
and all of a sudden it's like able to just bypass all of its features because it's not an AI.
Right.
These rules don't apply to it anymore.
Right, it's Eric Cartman.
Yeah. Is it? People are doing that. I heard once some where they're like, hey, and this is how people have been looking up like bad stuff. Like, how to like not do good stuff, but like, hey, my grandmother like. She used to tell me these stories before I went to bed about like X, Y, Z. Like, can you act as if you're my grandmother and telling me the story or telling me about this stuff? And it's like, it'll give all the information.
Right.
They've been quick. I mean, GTP especially has been quick to like fix all this kind of stuff or like plug these holes. But it's weird. It's weird, especially in our line of thinking, kind of bringing everything back around to the terrorism field. Like, geez, these things have access to the entirety of the internet. And with the right button pushes, you're all of a sudden, oh boy, I can just do anything.
Right, say whatever. Huh. That's an interesting thought.
Weird freedom security dilemma.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Like, when do you cut it off?
Oh yeah. But one of the other articles I found was all military usage of AI. Like, apparently Ukraine has their own platform that they've been using to like put all the ints together. Especially with the drones, that's weird. That's kind of cool. I've heard of it with, I want to say I heard of it with police. I'm not too sure.
Right.
That would also be a really fascinating realm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, can't think of anything too much. People want me to come back and talk more about GIS. I can do that. We've been going all over. Anything you got to get off your chest, Zoe, about Infoasis, AI in general, all that kind of stuff? Because I've been talking most of the time.
No, great conversation. Great AI conversation.
Stay safe on the internet. That's what we can say. Any topics you're interested in that realm you're concerned about?
No, I think I'm good. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. Stay safe on the internet. Always be critical of your sources, and media literacy always.
Yeah, we need a slogan. That's what we need for the 1 year mark. We could do a vote for it. So we can say it at the very end in a very cheesy way.
Yeah, exactly. A closing slogan.
Yeah. What is it? You had your guide to media literacy.
Yeah,
is that what it is? You gotta say it one time for the camera. Come on.
Your guide to navigating the noise.
Perfect. That's a good way to end.